Welcome, one and all, to another episode of If You Condone This Shit, They're Gonna Own Your Shit. So, I'm here with Big Kenny, my co-host in this endeavor. Go ahead. Hey, today is August 4th, 2023. Okay. Kenny wanted to talk about the war, so I'm going to let Kenny lead in with this, the first topic. Go ahead, Kenny.
I just don't get it, bro. How you can be so tough with people who don't have no weapons. They ain't got no weapons to fight back, but you so tough. You know what I mean? That shit's crazy, dude. Yeah. At least give them weapons so they can have a fighting chance.
Yeah. Well, no, they don't want to play fair, you know? There's some people who, they believe the ends justify the means. And that's an American or Western world philosophy. They don't give a fuck if it's a fair fight, long as they win, you know? That's kind of a Western world imperialism philosophy. As we get into it, as I'll use whatever advantage I have, and I beat your ass in submission. And see, that's a sad commentary, because they put themselves out of being the moral authority in the world, and especially Israel has came up and said, you know, that they're crying the battle cries. Look what the Germans did to us. Look how we've been abused. You got to give us a country. And I don't mean to discount the 6 million lives that were lost because of Hitler's bullshit and racism and anti-Semitic bullshit. I won't diminish that. But see, here's the thing: if you want people to look upon you as a good and righteous people, you can't do unrighteous things. Okay? You know, so, they always said United States has moral authority, and I kind of disagree with them. I said they don't have moral authority. But I may put them in this podcast, because this is podcast number 8 of the series, and I may put some of the pictures that I saw, and maybe even a snippet from 60 Minutes that they're showing that these guys are shooting children with sniper rifles. And if you remember, we talked about last week about the blast effect. These are high-powered rifles that they're designed for getting one shot and incapacitating the individual. When you hit a person with a sniper round, usually almost in any organ on their body, you disable them or kill them. Okay. Now, if you're shooting at kids with guns like that, because I think the smallest of sniper rounds is a .223, the largest a .50 caliber, and in the in-betweens are .308s, and these are all like they hit you like with the power of a truck hitting you. So, think about that as somebody shooting a woman, like I saw the woman in the video, some mother that was pulling her kid across the street, and they sniped her ass, So, like I said, my own personal opinion doesn't have to be shared by anybody else, but I think those cowardly motherfuckers, and if they think total war is the way to do it, no matter what it is, see, what makes a human and differentiates us, they say, from animals, which I think animals are more nobler than we are, because animals, once they disabled each other, they just start running away. Once the person wins in the battle, they don't go out and go destroying the whole pride or herd. They just go, hey, you got your ass kicked, now drag on, They don't set out, except for maybe what they call elephants. Elephants follow your ass to your grave, Anyway, they got a fucking, they hold a grudge. But anyway, I digress. Well, what I'm trying to say is that these fucking people who are doing this total war because they're being paid for and supplied by Big Daddy America, and think they can get away with anything. I got news for you. You're never going to get away with it. Because the atrocities you create are, no matter how much bullshit you think you can do by keeping media out of here, there'll always be people that tell the story of the shit you did. Just like in Germany, they didn't know, they thought they hid everything and hid all about the death camps. It all came out. So all the shit you think you're getting away with today over there in Israel, you're not going to get away with the shit. It's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. And it may be the cause of that country being no more. Anyway, that's just my own personal effects on that there, Kenny. What do you say?
Like they say, what goes around comes around. What they going to do if Russia or somebody else go over there and just wipe their ass out? What they gonna start crying? Oh, we need help.
Yeah, well, you see, and you see if the difference is, I can see Ukraine or any of these other people who was, were attacked, and Russia came over there and tried to take their country. That's a justifiable war, and I can understand them being extremely brutal because one of the things Russia's doing, they're targeting civilians it's just like you never learn any fucking thing from the wars of the past. It's just like the German shoulder. There's a podcast out by Rachel Maddow. It's called Ultra. It means ultra veride, meaning above the law. But it is an interesting podcast. And if you have time to listen to it there, Kenny, I would advise you to listen to it because during the end of the war, the Germans all tried to come up with excuses on why they shouldn't be tried for war crimes. They said, well, because, it wasn't a crime. It shouldn't have been a crime to kill the Jews. It shouldn't have been a crime to kill off all of them. They were against all of Germany. So, I wasn't committing a criminal act. And then the world said, bullshit. And then he says, well, I was just following orders. Just like the soldier in Israel's going to say, I was just following orders. They told me to shoot kids. So I shot kids. Okay. But in the end, the guys that were hanging from the gallows, they said, well, you can't use I was just following orders as an excuse for committing crimes against humanity.
Yep.
So they hanged their asses. So anyway, it's an interesting story, mine, and and in that podcast, it shows you how there's always been a corrupt group of people who will justify it, and most of them are of European mindset. From all of that place in Europe, England. Russia, Germany, all these people make up shit in their head to justify their actions. When the fucking Spanish came over to the Americas and slaughtered the people on Hispaniola, it was all because the Pope said, you're on God. God is with you, and it's all a money-making scheme. And then, do you know what was on the belt buckle of the German shoulders?
What's that?
It said, God is with us. That was on their belt buckle. See, anybody can profess to say that, like you talk to I've seen some videos about the people in Israel. So, well, God gave us this land. Well, did God give you a lease? God tell you about it? Did he tell everybody else about it? But they didn't. See, every fucking, person who commits atrocities will tell you God was with them. Now, see, I don't believe God is in the atrocities business. Hey, who am I? You're a religious man. Do you believe God's in the atrocity business there, Kenny?
Hell no, bro.
I think I think Jesus talked about loving your neighbor as you love yourself, right?
That's how you know half of the stuff, these books out here, was rewritten, man-made. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. If you put man in as the editor between it, it's just like it says in the Bible. What does it say in the Bible? Jews are God's chosen people. Why? Why would that be, Kenny? Because the Jewish guy probably wrote it. Okay. Yep. There you go. If I was writing it, I'd say black people were God's chosen people. So, it just depends on the editor in charge. Okay. I'm not saying, maybe it is, but God hasn't came down and informed me. God tells me that I need to eat and drink water. If you want to believe in such things, God kind of gives you the moral character and foundation. You know what's right and wrong. You know not to steal. You know how not to take from another person or harm another person or hurt them. And if you don't know, you're a sociopath or a fucking criminal mind, then there's nothing I can do to teach you. But in the final analysis, that's what I say. Every fucking guy, when we went to the Gulf War, I heard all these pastors talking about, they believe in Islam and such and such. And they were always using God as a cudgel against someone else. And they would ask the minister, do you think it's justified to bomb people, civilians and stuff? Well, when they're not like us because they do the otherize. Everybody is less than you that you're attacking. That's the number one fault that you go to, and see, and it's wrong in your heart of hearts. I know it's wrong to treat somebody unjustly, And if I didn't know, there'd be something wrong with me. But I don't think there's nothing wrong with me because I know right from wrong. It was just like that old book that came out. Everything I needed to know about life, I learned in kindergarten, and that's true. Anyway, but that's the war. And as we were talking before the podcast, that you guys wasn't privy to the conversation went on that it is my belief, not Kenny, that Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to prolong the war by doing attacks inside of Iraq and or is it Iran? Oh, it's Iran, not Iraq. Iraq was the one we attacked, wasn't it? We didn't attack Iran. So it's in Iran. Okay, and then going into Lebanon and shooting up some people. What he's trying to do is get a regional war and draw us into that war. And the longer the war lasts, the longer he can stay in as prime minister. Okay. And as soon as the war is over, he's charged with a whole bunch of criminal fucking charges that if he goes to court, he'll go to jail. So he's just like Donald Trump, but the only thing, he's in office. So that's why he's doing it. It's all self-preservation. And you know what? A scared man will do anything, and he'll sacrifice anyone, his whole country, the lives of children, the lives of innocents. That's what's going on in Israel, in a nutshell. So, and that's all my personal opinion. So let's change this topic to a little bit livelier. Kamala Harris is picking her VP this weekend. Right now at 8, August the 4th, 2024. She's,
who you think is going to be?
You know what? I don't know. And I'm looking at, I think her last 3 picks. Mark Kelly is my senator. I think he would be all right. I don't know him as, I haven't seen him as far as, he does he's got some legislation, but I think on the list, he probably has the least amount of experience. Now, I'm thinking the Walsh guy from, is it Missouri? Hold on, let me look here, because I got him here. Oh, it's governor from Minnesota, Tim Walz from Minnesota. Mark Kelly from Arizona, and Josh Shapiro. And then they said Andy Bashir, but I think Bashir has dropped out. So as it stands today, the top three are Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, Tim Walz of Minnesota, and Mark Kelly. And I think Mark Kelly would probably be the least experienced there. And I think he would be more cannon father than most, because, you know, his wife, Gabby Giffords, was shot in Tucson by some mad-ass gunman that tried to kill her, you know. So, and that's how he got into politics, because she was already a congresswoman in Tucson for the United States Congress. And then she was paralyzed and everything. It's a wonder they didn't kill her. But anyway, he got in politics as a direct thing. And he's kind of anti-gun, such. And, you know, that might be a liability. Now, when I say Josh Shapiro, he has some issues, notable that he's made some comments against the people who were demonstrating against Israel. And, you know, and his comments were kind of lukewarm, but they were just, you know, he was in a political fray, and because he's Jewish. Now, hey, you know, that may give them a lot of, it may put the thing, but put the wind at their back. But I heard him speaking just probably a couple of days ago, and he's a hell of an orator. But also, the Tim Walz is a governor, and he's had the slimmest majority and passed all kinds of good shit for that state. He's got school lunches, and, you know, he got made sure that he extended the Affordable Care Act and stuff like that, you know, just off the top of my head. But he's done a lot of good stuff. And he was a teacher, football coach. That'd be something that you'd be interested in, Kenny, being an ex-football player. But, yeah, but he's got a lot of bona fides as far as governing. See, so he would be, Josh Shapiro is in his first term, and I think this Tim Walz is probably in his second term. But I may not be correct, but, you know, just off the guessing, but he's really well loved. So he may bring Missouri, but Missouri has the lowest possible electoral votes. Now, Josh Shapiro is going with a 60% approval rating in Philadelphia. Now, in Pennsylvania. So if Pennsylvania has more electoral colleges, if they can get Michigan and Pennsylvania, then they've got it. They got they don't really need Arizona. They don't need New Mexico, and they don't need your state, Las Vegas. So, because I know that, but Kamala's picking up in your state too. So anyway,
you picking up over here.
Yeah. That's what I hear. She's like even in your state. So there you go. So between those, I would say here's my going to make my my 1, 2, 3 pick. One, Tim Walz would be number one if I was picking, and I would say Josh Shapiro number two, and I love Mark Kelly, but I would say he would be number three. What's your pick out of three?
But I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't even know the ones that's running. I swear to God. That's why I was asking you.
Yeah. Well, you know, I at least sit down here a couple hours before the podcast and do a little research, baby. You know, that's my character flaw. Anyway.
I thought you were trying to get somebody with a popular name. You know what I mean?
Well, see, in those regions, they are popular. See, he's got a 60%. Right now, she's even in Pennsylvania. Now, she gets a 60% bump. I mean, 60%. This guy's 60% popular. Do you think those people don't want their own governor to be vice president of the United States? You know?
That'd be a smart move if she did it like that.
Yeah, see, so that's it. So he is popular, and as I said, I just the fucking press conference I saw of him. JD Vance said, "Oh, he sounds like Obama," and he says, maybe JD thinks that's a slight against me, but Barack Obama was one of the most brilliant political orators of our time, so he's actually giving me quite props. He says, I'm very happy he made that made that assessment of me. Okay, it's not a verbatim, but that's exactly what he came out to. He was saying, okay, sure, but he was saying that JB Vance is a flip flopper. He was the one who said that he thought that Donald Trump was America's Hitler, and now he's bobbing on the knob, so. Hey, I'll get on my knees. Just to put me in the right place.
He's slobbing on the knob.
Yeah. So, and for those of you who don't know what that means, look it up. Anyway, okay. So
1 2 1.
What was that?
The mic check 2 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, the mic. Get on the mic. Talking to the mic.
Yeah, speaking to the mic.
Bobbing to the mic, you fucker, you. Anyway, but that's what he said. When he was the never Trumper before, and then I saw his bullshit excuse about why he became a Trumper. He said, well, that was everybody telling me. See, here's the thing there, Kenny. How weak are you if you go by what everybody tells you? If you don't take everything I say as the gospel, do you?
It's like you ain't not thanking for yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he's going to say, well, I was listening to other people, and then they were giving me theirs. No, you know what the fucker does. You know what he did. Now, going with that, let's talk about Donald Trump, the Republican presidential candidate, drew gassed on Wednesday when he said at the National Association of Black Journalists convention that Vice President Kamala Harris, the presumptuous Democratic nominee, had suddenly adopted being black. Okay? How about suddenly? Now, let's think it. Let's go into this. I went and checked I did my research. So here's a CNN fact check. Trump's claims are false. Harris did not all of a sudden begin identifying as black. She has embraced and discussed her black identity for decades, beginning long before she became a political candidate, while also honoring her South Asia heritage. Okay. Harris graduated in 1986 from Howard University, a historically black institution where she was a member of a historically black sorority. Now, how is she all of a sudden becoming black? Okay. After that, she was elected president of the Association of Black Law Students in her second year at the University of California, Hastings College of Law. She wrote in her 2019 memoir. How is that? Do you think that's a sudden? Huh?
Crazy, bro.
Okay. Political. Yeah, see, all he's doing is he's trying to get a grip on, he's trying to sow division. You know what that was all about? He was a prop. He was going to show all his racist supporters, I'll go into the den. He wasn't coming there trying to get votes, because you wouldn't say no stupid shit like that if you was trying to get somebody's vote. You wouldn't come in there and say, oh, it's just now becoming black. You know, every black person there, Kenny. Do you know that you're black, Kenny?
I think I am.
Yeah, I think I've always known I was black, you know. And I've always had somebody come up to me in the years in my life and telling me, you know, and always white people, you know, and they were telling me, hey, you're not like other black people. And I used to always come to them and say, how many black people you know? Do you know a lot of black people? Because we might all be like that. We might all be exactly like I am. Because here's the thing, but because of segregation and housing discrimination, you hardly ever got a chance to live next to a black person or know any. Okay? So how the fuck would you know? Okay? Yeah. All you're working is on rumor, innuendo, and old wives' tale, you know? Or watching TV, watching Step and Fetch It, or what's the other one? What's the other fucking show that used to be off in the 50s? The one with the black, Me and the Kingfish. You remember that? It was in the 50s, but they had reruns. I have a white friend that used to tell me, hey, watch this show with me. And I said, I'm not watching that fucking show with you. He said, well, it's funny. I said, I don't give a fuck how funny it is. I'm not watching that fucking show with you. And it was, what was the name of it? Gosh, it'll come to me before this podcast is. But it was on radio in the 30s. And then they brought it in the 50s. What was the Me and the Kingfish? It wasn't Step and Fetch It. That was that was a character, but it was Amos and Andy. Amos and Andy. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, he was two fucking slow-witted motherfuckers, and they were always, coming up with these half-witted ideas and stuff like that. And then that gave white people the license to say we're all stupid. So we were all, all the shows, every show you saw in the 50s and 60s, it was only until Julia that you had a black person that was smart enough to be a nurse. Wasn't that what Julia was in the 60s with Rodney Allen Whippet? Do you remember that show?
I remember Rowland. What did you say, Allen Rowland?
Rodney Allen Whippet.
No, you remember I was born in '66.
Okay, but the show fucking was in rerun. I know about shows like fucking the Goldbergs. The Goldbergs were out before I was born. There, Kenny. I know there's a show called the Goldbergs.
So the Goldbergs that's out now.
No, yeah. That's just the same name, but it's a show. It's the same thing about a Jewish family, but this was a Jewish family that lived in a tenement in New York, black and white, and they all lived. A lot of them, because everybody was poured in. They had grandma, grandpa, all living in a tenement apartment building, and it's called the Goldbergs. So. Everybody was poor back then, it didn't have, you probably couldn't live, if you were a black person, you couldn't live in their tenement house, but, you probably had a tenement house probably with a lot less extra features, except you probably had plumbing down the hall, a shower down the hall and shit like that. Anyway, but, I know about a lot of, that was one of my things. I liked Laurel and Hardy when I was a kid, and Keystone.
Laurel and Hardy.
Okay, yeah. See, those are classics. So some of these shows, you know about them because they're out. But but Julia was one of the first ones that showed a black person that had some brains. Because she was a nurse. Okay. And what was the other ones? Right around the 60s and the 70s, they started enabling us with a brain, Then there was a detective in the 1970s, and you probably don't remember this, but it was Tenafly. Remember Superfly was out? There was a detective show called Tenafly. Never heard of it, have you, Kenny?
Nope, never heard of it.
Yeah, it was a black detective called Tenafly. See? So, yeah, in my repertoire of shows. But anyway, and continuing on reading this, he says Politico reported in 2001 that as a third-year student at the law school in 1989, Harris rose to speak against anti-black racism at a campus demonstration prompted by the discovery of racist vandalism. Politico reported for black students, she said, according to archives of the Hastings Law News, the cartoon was an example of what we deal with all the time. How's that? Yeah. Huh? Now, I guarantee you, what was the rule? You lived in Louisiana, didn't you? Okay. What's the rule of Louisiana always in the South? You have one drop of black blood in you? What are you?
You're black.
They may get a chance to categorize you with that octoroom and quadroom and all that other bullshit, and that Southern classification that I hope no black person ever use or even comes out of their mouth. I was taken back. It was probably, what was it, 1990. I was on the fire department. Somebody came up to me and asked me, what are you, quadroon or octoroon? And I said, well, what the fuck are you talking about? He says, well, yeah, he asked me that. I said, what the fuck would I know of your bullshit racist labeling? I said, why would you fix your mouth to even ask me? Do you think I came out of my birth certificate? Huh? Are you fucking crazy? I wasn't born in Louisiana, and I don't think they classified you like that. I was just there. That was in the, I don't understand it. But remember, we were talking last week about the octoroom balls where the Southern men would go there to try to get a woman to, that they could sleep with and pay for their children. And so they'd have a concubine, a black concubine, and it was, I guess, the lowest level they go to is an octoroom. I don't know what the fuck an octoroom is, but you can see the classification on YouTube. I'm not even going to post a YouTube link to it because I think it's detestable. Okay, so in the last part of this, it said a profile of Harris in a political I'm going to redo this. Profile of Harris in a publication, Asian Week, in 2003. She was running for San Francisco district attorney. Was focused on her South Asian heritage, but it quoted Harris discussing her father as a black man and saying, "I grew up with a strong Indian culture, and I was raised in the black community. All my friends were black. We got together and we cooked Indian food and painted henna on our hands, and I never felt uncomfortable with my cultural background." Imagine that, huh? Said she's comfortable in her fucking skin. She's actually understands our identity, and embraces it. Okay. That's the way it is. She's not running from it. I saw her with, what's the Mindy Kaling? You remember her, the Mindy show?
Yeah.
I saw her on a cooking show with Mindy when she was running for Senate, and they were cooking Indian dishes. And Mindy was taken back. She said, "Oh, Kamala, how did you know this?" She said, "Well, my mother was Indian. I know how to do this. I know how to, how to do." So she embraces it, Just as I said, if you look upon having a different ethnic heritage, it said it shows that you as a negative, then that shows you're truly ignorant. because when you have two ethnic identities, you have a foot in each world, and you can bridge the gap of those two worlds. You see, so it's kind of like what Ricardo Montalban was told by his father. He says, a man that can speak two languages is worth two men. Okay. So,
a man that speaks two languages could be two men.
Is worth two men because he can talk to two men. If you got a labor pool that speaks one language and another labor pool that speaks another language, he's worth two men because he can talk to you and talk to the other one and bring you together. You see? So that was the one of the statements I remember them talking to Ricardo Montalban, and he says, yes, he said, my father always told me that a man that can speak two languages, and I believe a person that has two cultural ethnicities have a unique ability to bridge the gap between people. And that's how it's always was there, Kenny. Do you think all these people, if you're in Spain and you're in Portugal and you're in Germany, all these fuckers speak different languages? How do you think they ever talk to each other? They got together and they met each other and they talked. They sit around and understand. They have an interest to understand that other person's circumstances. Are they married some woman? And that was one of them. That's why they say kings and queens and shit. They call them blue blood because they're all inbred. Because, it was always the royal families marrying the royal family. The Germans married the English and the Scotch married the Germans. Yeah, so all those fuckers, they try to tell you like they're purebred Aryan. They're full of shit. They're all mixed, worse than almost anybody, I digress once more. But anyway. Okay. Okay. Now I have 37 minutes to go, and I wanted to talk about this. There's a guy on Substack, and he is pretty good, and I would like to relay our listeners to him because I think he is a genius in the making. Okay. And he has a Substack stream called Looking Inwards. Get it? Looking Inwards on Substack. Now, he wrote an article today that I wanted to share with the audience because, a lot of us understand history through what we were taught in school. Now, as we understand in the present educational state influences where states are taking them out, things that they don't want you to know and stuff like that, we find that history is incomplete. Okay. And one of the things that he wrote in his thing, he says, my problem with equity being honestly honest about Honest Abe before Gettysburg and after. Okay, 5 years before President Lincoln freed the slaves, Lincoln gave his famous and exalted 2-minute speech known as the Gettysburg Address. He gave another speech. If you are reading these words, you are clearly familiar with the Gettysburg and its reference speech. However, you are unlikely familiar, and ask yourself why, with Lincoln's speech on September 18th, 1958. It was considerably longer than only scantly 2 minutes. Brace for enlightenment. And what will be historically looming general election wisdom, nostalgic, absolutionists, and self-aggrandized aggrandizing, Abraham Lincoln's reference about and by duplicitous candidates expressing given the prevailing Chitlin Circuit's dynamic, I suspect that this election, as it were, will alter the political landscape in the United States for the next several decades, assuming the United States still exists. But that is simply my higher subjective opinion. Begin. Like you, I was indoctrinated to Lincoln's famous Gettysburg Address as a child. By the time I was in 6th grade, at 9 years old, I knew the thing by rote. The famous 2-minute event occurred on November 1863. Here is the 2 minutes speech in its entirety. I'm not going to put the entirety. I may put a link in there, but it starts with 7 years ago. Everybody knows that one, right, Kenny?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was his famous Gettysburg Address. He says, now I'm going to go past it and get here, and says, it would take a aforementioned 9-year-old 6th grader another 3 decades to learn another speech from Mr. Freed to Slave. Oddly enough, the understanding that I spent years in an elite military scholastic environment at about the same time, I learned of the 3 verse of the Star Spangled Banner. You know that the Star Spangled Banner has a racist verse in it, don't you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you know that one. Okay. I managed to live almost 40 years, never ever knew about either. I cannot help but wonder why. I'll bet it's news to you too. All right. I know why. I was just living up with a wee bit of cynicism. I trust you will forgive such horrific transgression. My sincere condolence if you find yourself unable to do so. I will now, with all due pomp and circumstance, share with you Lincoln's lengthy speech, much longer than 2 minutes, 5 years before the hallowed Gettysburg Address. For the sake of journalistic economy, I refrain from reproducing the entire transcript here. However, I will provide a link to the speech and the salient excerpt. Note the laughter and applause. While I was at a hotel today, this is Lincoln's speech, an elderly gentleman came upon me to know whether I really was in favor of producing a perfect equity between the Negro and the white people. Great laughter from the crowd. While I do not propose myself on this occasion to say much on that subject, yet as the question was asked, I thought I would occupy perhaps 5 minutes in saying something in regards to it. I will say then that I am not nor ever have been in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equity of the white and black races. Applause. That I am not nor ever have been in favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes, nor are qualifying them to hold office, nor are intermarrying with white people. And I will say, in addition to this, that there is a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on the terms of social and political equity. Huh? That's Abraham Lincoln, the great slave freer. And insomuch as they cannot so live while they do remain together, they must be the position of superior and inferior. And as much as any other man am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race. Huh? I say upon this occasion that I do not perceive that because the white man is to have the superior position, the Negro should be denied everything. I do not understand that because I do not want a Negro woman for a slave, I must necessarily want her for a wife. Cheers and laughter. My understanding is that I can let her alone. I am now in my 50th year, and I certainly never have had a black woman for either a slave or a wife. So it seems to me quite possible for us to get along without making either slaves or wives of Negroes. I will add this, that I have never seen, to my knowledge, a man, woman, or child who was in favor of producing a perfect equity, social and political, between Negroes and white men. Okay? Recollect. But one distinguished instance that I have ever heard of so frequently as to be entirely satisfied of its correctness, and that it is the case of Judge Douglas, my old friend, Colonel Richard M. Johnson. Laughter. I was also add that the remarks I made for I'm going to enter at large upon the subject, that I have never had at least apprehension that I or my friends would marry Negroes if there was no law to keep them from it. Laughter. But as Judge Douglas and his friends seems to be in great apprehension, that they might if there were no law to keep them from it. Roars of laughter. I give him the most solemn pledge that I will, to the very last, stand by law of this state, which forbids the marrying of white people with Negroes. Okay? Continue laughter and applause. I will add one further word, which is this, that I do not understand that there is any place on alteration of society and political relations of the Negro and the white man can be more except in the state legislature nor in the Congress of the United States. And I do not really append at the approach of any such thing myself. And as Judge Douglas seems to be in constant horror of that, such danger is rapidly approaching, I propose as the best means to prevent it is that Judge be kept at home and placed in the state legislature to fight the measure. Uproars, clouds, and laughter. I do not propose dwelling longer on this time or subject. And that was Lincoln's first debate speech in 1958. So Lincoln, and I want to add context to this because I think it's important there, Kenny, because Lincoln evolved. He was He wasn't a person who wanted to free the slave. He evolved into that. He had the mores and the consciousness of society at the present time. See, everybody was an abolitionist. They were few and far between. But anyway, I have absolutely nothing to add. No, none needed. Okay, and in this, Kenyatta says, equity. Some months ago, I mentioned to one of my mentors that white supremacy is the ability to define what white supremacy is, to control the narrative and define the terms. Chances are you would fall on the pivotal sword and swear that you are not a white supremacist, and you do not have to be of any particular ethnicity to be one, as white supremacy is a matter of unthink and narrative control. The fact is blatantly obvious, pertain to the term equity. I'm going to have to be a bit unpolished and downright rude. With hubris what hubris, that's a question. He didn't put a question mark there, makes you think I desire to be equal to you. Who are you to be equal to? Am I equal to you because you say I am? And what arrogance allows that? Do you honestly think I want to run around in white pajamas with a pillowcase on my head whilst I burn one of the most sacred religious icons in the world? Do you think I want to be equal to the motherfucker that bombs little black babies attending Sunday school? Do you think I want to have picnics and take photographs of my children smiling broadly as a man or woman swings from a tree as they froth from the mouth, as their eyes bulge out of their sockets? Do you think I want to drop a nuclear bomb on civilians? Do you think I want to kill children for the resources and other nations? Do you think I want to call myself great while millions of my brethren go hungry and languish on the streets as I throw food away? Do you think I want to enumerate a societies whose citizens shoot up churches, mosques, synagogues, grocery stores, movie theaters, and schools? Do you think I want to shoot 13-year-old European American babies multiple times in the chest as they play in the park under color of law? Do you think I want to literally cook people in an electric chair? Fucking being equal to you ain't nothing to be equal to. My aspirations as a person far exceed that. You need to be trying to be equal to the rest of the world. And that's my problem with equity. What say you, Kenny?
That shit deep there, bro. That shit is real deep.
Yes. That's why I brought it up. See, he thought that I was, he thought that, see, I like to bring in new blood, but that guy is really good. And I suggest all our listeners check him out. Living in Words is a Substack. You can subscribe to it by giving your email, and you can follow him on Patreon. Okay, now for our last thing, Racist of the Week. Who is Racist of the Week? Okay, I'm going to have to say the Racist of the Week is AIPAC. AIPAC is a pack of, it's supposed to be a bipartisan pro-Israel action committee. Okay, and I think what does AIPAC stand for? It says a pro-Israel lobby. Okay, and what they are, I would have to say they're deeply, and much my own person, American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. And what they are is they're a fucking bunch of Republicans that, do dirt behind, Israel lobby. And what they do is, Jamal Bowman, they fight against people that they don't think is sufficient enough support of Israel killing people over there. So Jamal Bowman was outspoken, and now they're attacking Cori Bush. But see, they're mostly a racist. Okay, because what they do is they'll attack black people and they keep black people in line. And if you don't do what they say, then they'll vote you out. They'll primary out. So what they've done this week, and it's Racist of the Week, their revenge is aimed at Cori Bush. They're saying that they've doctored a photograph, apparently, of her to make her distort her face and make her forehead bigger and elongate her features. So that's so they get to be Racist of the Week. And if you can, this podcast is not going to get out before she has a primary, which is in 2 days. So I ain't gonna get it out. But if she does make it past that, because they've attacked her. This is their second attack on her, and if she gets past it, she'll be running for Congress in November. And if she's there, give her some money. And then if anybody from AIPAC ever asks you to give them some money, send them the finger emoji, would you please? Okay. So with that, Kenny, we have been.
Would you please?
What was that?
You said, "Would you please?"
Yeah, would you please go fuck yourself? Because they sent me a thing once when they had the first attack, and I looked at it and I remembered their track record, and I said, "Oh, would you please help send us money to Israel, such and such?" And I said, "Well, I've already sent some of my tax dollars there all the time. I'm paying for bullets that's killing civilians, 2,000 pound bombs that's killing civilians. I think I've done all I can, because if they asked me to earmark my money, it wouldn't be going to your ass, I guarantee you." So with that, Kenny, we are just coming up on 1 hour. How about that for timing?
That is perfect timing.
Hey, what did you think about that Lincoln speech?
That shit's powerful there, bro.
Well, they
didn't teach us that in school.
No, they're not going to teach you. See, what I find about American propaganda is they always want to show you that that they're perfect, and they're not perfect. And you see, the thing about it, Kenny, is if we were to live and understand about their weaknesses. I have weaknesses, Kenny. I'm not a perfect person, believe it or not. I never profess to be one. I am a flawed person. I tried to do the best I can with my life, but I understand that I have problems. I understand what they are. And that's the only way you can start on a journey of healing and correction. But the United States never wants to heal or correct. They'll tell you that slavery was good. They'll tell you the segregation was good. They'll have black people tell you some shit like that that black Republican was saying about how great families were when they was Jim Crow South. So they always want to live in a fairy tale. It's just like I saw a picture once on X, and it was showed two pictures. Well, you remember that show Happy Days, when it was all about the 50s, and everybody's, the song, "These Days Are Ours, Happy Days," and all that other shit. And it was always just great shit, everybody was 50s, and it was fun, and you was going to the sock hop and shit like that. And there were black people getting shit on, spit on to go to school. You know, that wasn't our happy days, was it there, Kenny?
Yeah, no,
that wasn't ours. So they had two pictures. There was people at the sock hop having a whole bunch of fun, hanging out at the malt shop with nothing but white people there, you know, kids having their DAs and their leather jackets, and they were having a wonderful time. And here's this poor black girl going to high school in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they fucking spitting all over her and chasing her down the fucking street. And I wouldn't call her days happy. You know? I wouldn't call Ruby Bridges' days happy. I wouldn't call the fucking poor guys that got buried in that white rock quarry happy. But you see, if you don't turn and face the shit that you do wrong, then you never correct yourself. And then some motherfucker can come to you later on and tell you, let's make America great. And you think, oh, yeah, it was great then, because you never saw the diversity. Okay? You forgot about the guys walking across the Edmund Pettit Bridge and getting the shit beat out of them by what's supposed to be law. You know? See? They'll tell you this, so respect a policeman. Why the fuck should you respect a policeman when you can see the policeman was the person who took those civil rights workers from driving out of the city and pulled them over and put them in a quarry. That was a policeman. It was a policeman who started the white riot. It was a policeman who beat the shit out of those people, and the only thing they wanted to do was embrace the franchise, the rights that was given to them in the 1800s. Blacks were given the right to vote. Okay? We're almost 100 years later, and they wanted to take it away from you. And it was the policeman doing it. Okay? Not all cops are bad, but I can tell you one thing. Don't try to feign respectability, because you have you have been on the wrong side of history too many times. Now, you're a policeman. Am I wrong, Kenny? I mean, you were an ex-policeman.
Yep, I was one.
Yeah. Am I wrong about my assessment?
Yeah, but I think that's why everybody was going against me, because I wasn't standing up for that shit, you know?
Yeah, well, hey, that's it. Hey, I know how peer pressure is, you know, but I can tell you it's one time I was talking to someone and I said sometimes the voice of reason is the dissenting voice in a lynch mob. Okay, so when a guy says, well, hey, maybe we ought to have a trial and have the facts out, but then they pull the poor motherfucker out of jail and they're going to hang him right there. Well, see, they don't know the facts. All they know is the charges, and the charges don't have to be so. So you see, that's what I'm saying, is that we try to hide stuff. And then we want to feign respectability. We want to say, oh, it's respectable. We both know, we're both black. We both know that police, inadvertently treat black people. Not every one of them, but there's a lot of them up there that treat black people bad. There's enough of them that you should always look at everything they say side-eyed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just like the lady that was killed last week, and they said, and they were telling the family that she was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Where do you think that came from?
Motherfucker with that bullshit, bro.
Yeah, you see, so you want respectability. One thing that they told me when I joined the fire department said respect does not come with a uniform. Respect is earned by due diligence and being there and doing the right thing over and over again. You don't put on respect. If you could find respect, you could put it on. You know, if you go to a haberdasher and get respect, you would do it, but you can't. The only thing you can do is try to live within the confines of doing the right thing when it's hard to do. And that's how you get respectability. Anyway, Kenny, we're going to, we know the war is still going on, so hey, we're going to have to take it out again. And we pray for peace in the world. And we say until next week in another issue, I hope to enlighten you and make you think. And you learn a little bit every episode.
The world is spinning out of control, a never-ending cycle of blood and soul. Families torn apart, children left alone, as they march to the battlefield with hearts and stone. Why are they killing everyone? Is it worth the damage done? Our tears fall like the rain as we watch them die in vain. Bombs exploding, bullets flying all around us. There's no denying the horror of war. The price we pay for our leaders, greed, day after day. Why are they killing everyone? Is it worth the damage done? Our tears fall like the rain as we watch them die in vain.
And with that note, take us out, Kenny.
Stay tuned for the next episode of You Condone This Shit, They Own Your Shit. Next week, Scally, Big Kenny.